Welcome to another episode of the Grateful Gem Podcast. I'm the host, Jasmine Chanel, and today we're talking about what to do when you are done. Stick around because gems are definitely about to be dropped, so get ready. Before I get into this episode, I need everyone listening to this podcast to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Grateful Gem Pod, and also follow your girl at Jasmine Chanel. Don't worry, I'll spell it out for you and put it in the episode notes. Okay, let's get started. Welcome back, gems. I want to just recap. Our last episode was called Get Back Right. If you have not listened to that episode, pause this and go listen to the first episode. Again, that was called Get Back Right. It's going to help you in so many ways. So before you get into this one, please just start from the beginning and then come back to this one. So today, again, our topic is what to do when you are done. I know that most of the times when we are fed up with a situation, when we are fed up with the way things may look in our life, when we are just fed up with people and sometimes also fed up with ourselves, we tend to just throw the towel in and be done. But today I have 5 tips that I'm praying will definitely help you through how to get through being done. And instead of being done, you are just getting started. The first thing I want to talk about today is going to be work. Yes, I know people are like, what? Work? Yes. And I'm not talking about just actually physically going on somebody's job, working, labor. No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is working to, 1, change your mindset. 2, working to strive to whatever it is that you are done with to change that situation. Continue to work. So while you're working and trying to figure out how to go about things, you need to have a good mindset. You need to have not a done mindset, but a ready tongue-tied. To have what was I going to say? I don't know. Let me just go to something else. Okay, so instead of having a quitting mindset, you need to have a refined mindset. And what I mean by that is, instead of just throwing in the towel, you need to be able to take a step back and start over. Refresh yourself. There's nothing like being able to give yourself a fresh start. I actually was on Instagram, I believe today, and I saw an Instagram post on Boss Babes. I know a lot of people follow them. I follow them as well on my personal account as well as the Grateful Gem Podcast account. And they put up a quote that says, almost anything will work again if you unplug it for a minute or two, especially you. I thought that was a great post because we often, when our routers, when our Wi-Fi, when our phones, when our cars does not start correctly, what is the first thing that we do? We restart them, we reboot them, we end up restarting the whole cycle. So you have to be able to restart yourself and continue to have a working mindset to know that no matter what you're going through, that it is not the end. So don't quit. It is only the beginning. And that brings me to the next point. The next point I have for you, or tip, is going to be to be patient. I know that seems so cliche and so easy. It's very hard to do. I'm actually doing this in my own life, and that's another reason why I wanted to stop and record this today, because I'm having I'm done day, I'm done moment. I'm just done. I'm done with my life right now. And no, I don't mean suicidal thoughts and anything like that. And I pray that if anybody listening to this podcast is having those thoughts, that you really take the time to listen to this, because God is not finished with you yet. This is not your end, but this is your definite beginning. No matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, you still have to keep going. Continue to work, because the work will be worth it. It is worth it. And alongside working, again, you have to be patient. And I know that seems hard, because let me tell y'all, I am not a patient person. I like to have things set up. I make a plan for a plan, inside of a plan, out of a plan, okay? So I definitely can understand how it feels to have to be patient. And it's crazy because I know I haven't recorded my podcast about my fast yet, and I will do that soon. But in my last fast, that was something that God was working on me with, about being patient, because I am a control freak. I like to make my own plans, and just in case that plan fails, I like to have a backup plan. And I have another plan for the backup plan, because just in case the original plan doesn't work, I'm still gonna be ready to go with the plan. And while I was doing my fast, God told me, like, hey, listen, I need you to fully trust me. And another thing is, this doesn't have anything to do with the episode today, but I just want to tell somebody that when God tells you to do something, do it. And when you pray for something, for instance, I was praying for having greater faith. God has really been testing me with my faith and being that control freak. So when you're praying to God, like, Lord, please control my mouth on this job. Please control my mouth in front of my family, or whatever it is that you're praying for. Be specific and be ready to put in the work. So this is why when you're ready to give up, when you're ready to be done, you have to continue to go, because this is only the beginning. God is testing you. And I have been through so many tests in my life where I have failed. And that's embarrassing to say out loud, but it's just the God honest truth. I have been through a lot of things over and over and over again, because I was unable to realize what God was doing. And I will remember calling my friends or calling my family. I specifically remember when I worked at this restaurant called Nukes. I was going through a rough day, and I had so many things going on, and I was just done. I was done. I was ready to call anybody that could give me and help me understand that I was done, to agree with me, say, girl, you tried your best, just let it go, move on, try something new. I picked up the phone, I called my auntie, and she was able to calm me down, and to also surprisingly reminds me that you don't have to quit. This is the beginning. You have to realize that you're going through this same situation that you went through years ago, or weeks ago, even months ago. It wasn't like big time frames, but the sad thing for me was that I realized, like, hey, I literally just went through this a year or two ago, and I'm back in this situation. So she had to remind me that when we're going through those things, that we have to step outside of what it looks like and step in what's in front of us and say, okay, well, I was here before. How did I handle it? And I'm back. So what does God want me to do? And you literally have to stop in that moment and say, God, have your way. Have your will. Set my plans aside. God, show me and reveal to me what it is that you want me to do. And that's literally what I'm doing in my life, because as I stated before, today is a day where I want to be done. I want to be D-U-N. Not done, but done. Done. Okay? I really just want to be done. But I know that I cannot do that, because I know that I am praying more. I am more into the word. I'm more speaking to God. I'm gaining a closer and closer relationship with God, and I'm loving it. But again, it's not easy. It's not easy, because you're going to be tempted. You're going to be tested, and you have to be ready. You have to be ready. So also be ready. That wasn't one of my points, but that's going to be one now. Be ready, okay? So I said all that to tell y'all to be ready. So getting back to being patient. I know that being patient is really hard. And a lot of times we want things to just go steadfast. And I also remember with, I follow Jessica Dupart on Instagram as well. And she's always like, y'all want these microwave situations in an oven life, or oven situations, basically saying that you guys want the convenience of being able to cook something in 3 minutes versus having to cook it for 30 minutes, or having to cook something for 5 minutes and put it in the oven and cook it for an hour. And that's not the way life works. And if you continue to have that mindset, you're going to forever set yourself back. You're going to forever feel like you're ready to quit and that you are done, because you put 10 minutes or 5 days or a month into something that somebody else may have put 10 years or 20 years in it, and they're just not getting recognition for what they're doing. So you can't give up when you want to be done. You have to continue to be patient and just pray through your process, and just be real with God, because God is going to be real with us. No matter how much we sugarcoat and we move around, I am 100% real with God. I tell God how I'm feeling. Today, I had to step out and I had to pray and tell God, listen, God, I am really frustrated right now. I am really frustrated. I'm doing everything that you're asking me to do. I'm being obedient. I'm listening to your word. I'm asking you, would you have me do? And I'm doing all these things, but nothing is working. You have to be real with God. And once you reveal that realness with God, because he's real with us, and that comes with also gaining relationships. So if you're a baby Christian or someone that is not really good in praying, just take some time and just start talking. Just start talking like you're talking with that person that you feel 100% confidence with. Don't be in there just sitting there trying to cuss and do all that, because this is God. Let's have some respect. But be real and tell God what it is that you're feeling. If you're feeling overwhelmed, tell him, God, listen, I trust you, but I'm overwhelmed. Or I want to trust you, but I don't know how. Or I want to have better faith, but I don't know how to go about it. Or I want to read your Bible, but I don't know where to start. Or it doesn't make sense to me. Pray exactly what you want to pray. And I also want to recommend a book by Priscilla Shirer, which is called Fervent. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's called Fervent. Fervent is a wonderful book. I read it maybe 1 or 2 years ago. It really helped me. I love reading prayer books for women and just writing down how I feel, writing down what I'm going through and how I can get through this. And I still have those books. I keep them because I look at it, because it helps me in my everyday life to be reminded that God is still with me. No matter how alone I feel, no matter how broken I may feel, no matter how done I am, God is definitely still with me. Okay. He is definitely there, y'all. So don't sleep on God, because God is lit. I'm going to have to give me some of them God is lit t-shirts. I saw them on somewhere. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So so the first thing again was work. Don't stop. Work. Secondly, be patient. The third thing I have for you is keep your faith. So no matter what it looks like, because we know that the good word says we walk by faith and not by what? Sight. And that is definitely a verse that I know, or a scripture that a lot of people know by heart. We don't need no pastor or elder or bishop. We don't need nobody to tell us that, because we know that. But are we living that? Are we walking by faith and not by sight? Are we being able to say, God, close my eyes and let me see through my faith? Test my faith in God. I pray that I reveal where I am and now I can work on that. God, reveal to me what it is that you're showing me, because I want to be able to walk by faith and not by sight, because I know that your word promises things for me and I believe those promises and I want to believe them. And again, that goes back to being able to pray fervently. So being able to communicate and say exactly what it is that you're wanting to say and meaning what you want to say. So you have to be able to keep your faith, because I'm telling you guys, when you get in that word, or even when you start to pray and you start getting closer and closer and closer to God, things are going to happen. It also says in the good book that trials and tribulations will come, but you have to be ready, because God will equip us with each and every essential that we need to overcome. So we have to be focused and we have to stay faithful to him, because God has never left us. And I know that it's so hard. And with me, sadly, I still struggle with this. I'm praying about it. I've been praying about it on my last fast. That was one of the things. I went to church and I went to the altar and I had them pray for me. And the lady, she was praying so well and just praying about my faith. And immediately, those next couple of days, God tested me immediately. So God does not waste time. When he knows that we are serious and we mean what we're saying, he will test us, and we have to be ready. No matter what it looks like, no matter what your bank account looks like, no matter what your gas tank light on says, no matter how it looks, you have to be faithful. Be faithful in the promise that God has called upon us. And even also, I will go so far to say you have to trust. You really do. You have to speak those things over your life. And what I do is whenever I feel myself deteriorating from where I'm supposed to be, so if I'm having a rough day and I'm not being faithful and I'm not walking by faith, I take a moment at wherever I am. If I'm at work, I'll step outside, I'll go to my car and say a prayer. I'll walk around the building and just start talking and praying to God. And I just ask him, God, my mind is working. My mind is working overtime harder than my faith. And I just need you to restore the faith that I had, because I'm running dry. I'm running empty because this is happening. And then I'm praying and this is happening. Everything was fine until this started happening. Or I was doing okay, but it's quiet and I can hear my thoughts. So you have to really just be able to pray and pray fervently. So I also still recommend that book, Fervent, by Priscilla Shirer, because it is a great read and it will definitely help you in your walk along with trying to figure out what to do when you are done. So third thing was keep your faith. Let's see. The fourth thing I have is pray. I know we talked a lot about praying, but pray is definitely the first thing I recommend for anybody, because no matter where you are in your life and on your journey with God, you're able to communicate with him and just say what it is that you need. Say what it is that you're believing him for. Say what it is that you're looking to gain in this walk with him, and let him know that no matter how you feel, you're going to continue to stay committed, because God will never leave you. And half of the times we lead ourselves astray and we're too ashamed to come back. But let me tell you, God loves you regardless of how much you've done. No matter what you just did 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, God has sent Jesus to die for our sins. So you have to be able to walk to God and be able to repent and say, God, listen, I did such and such, but I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm turning. Because to be able to walk with God, you have to be able to turn. And that's all repent means, is turn. I learned that from Mike Todd at TC Nation Transformation Church. Hey, shout out. I love him. I listen to him while I'm at work. And his messages, they are from years ago. And I listen to them today. And they are so relevant to my life. It gets me through a lot. I'm like, God, he is speaking to my soul. He must have knew I needed some help on this today. He's really great. His messages are really, really, really helpful. And this is also because I've always read the Bible, but lately I've been able to get in the Bible and just try to study it to really bring the book of those chapters to life in my life. Because previously when I read it, it was just like, what? Thou art what? Who? I don't know what they're talking about, but my friend taught me how to change it to the English Standard Version, and I transferred it, and then I just I started from the beginning, and then I started to dissect things. And it was crazy because once I started reading the Bible and actually reading it for understanding and studying it, every message that I hear or the things that I am listening to, it coincides with what I'm reading. Like, I listen to Priscilla Shirer as well on YouTube, and a lot of things that I was going through, those verses that I had read, her messages would just pop up on my YouTube. Mike Todd as well, he would refer to the same scriptures she had read. And I also listened to Bianca Olthoff. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Sorry, girl, if I pronounced it wrong. But shout out to her. She is a woman that is on fire for God. She is amazing. And she also picked up in the book of Ruth. That's what I was reading at recently. I was reading Ruth. And she also talked about when life sucks, don't quit. You have to work. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because this is exactly why I wanted to do this podcast. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to put this episode up, because this is something that I need, not only for you guys, but for myself. So don't think that I'm over here just talking to y'all. I am actually doing these things with you. I am living and learning each and every day, because we are not perfect, but we have to try our best, and we have to be the best that God has called us to be. And in order to live the life that we want and that God has for us, we have to be able to do these things and be able to get through them successfully. And don't worry, because if we fail, God will test you again and again and again. I am a living testimony of that, because I can sit here and count how many times that I've been through one specific situation. And I'm glad that I'm older and I realize that. But at a certain point, it's like, when is the madness going to stop? And that's also why I just wanted to put this out there, because I'm having another done moment, and I don't want to give up at the very end of my beginning, and I don't want you to give up either. So that is why I'm putting this out there for you. So also, I was listening to Mike Todd, and he also said that fear is the playground of foolishness. And I know that sometimes when we are ready to give up, or when we feel overcome, where a lot of that stems from fear. We're afraid of what may happen if we do trust God. We're afraid of what may happen if we don't obey God. We're afraid of whatever. It don't even have to be tied to God. It can just be something relevant to you. Or what if I do start this business and it's not successful? What if I do quit my job and I can't get any income? What if I do these things that I know that I'm called to do, but it doesn't work out? So you cannot feed on fear. So be fearless, okay? Do not let fear be your playground, because it will overtake you every time. And I thought that was a good quote to use, because I'm telling you, fear will creep up on you like a thief in the night. A thief in the night, y'all. It will come in your house while you sleep and be like, toop, toop, tap you on your shoulder like, girl, you up or not? And I'm like, nah, I ain't up. Playground is over. Playtime is done. Recess is done. I'm out. I'm not out to play. So, yes, remember that fear is the playground of foolishness. And I also just want to give you a little insight of another reason why not to give up when you feel like you are done. Because it's at that very moment that you decide to give up that God is about to bless you. You might be one step away from stepping in God's abundant blessings. And you also have to remember that the decisions you make today impacts your tomorrow. So the things that we do at this very moment has so many impacts on not only your tomorrow, but your future in regards to the next hour, the next minute, the next second. If you make a hasty decision, that's a hasty decision that you may have to living with or live through for years, or trying to put yourself, say if you were on your job and you just be like, oh, I just hate this job, I have to walk off, I don't know if I can do this, these people getting on my nerves, I'm about to cut somebody out, I'm finna have a holy matrimony with somebody in my tongue, like I'm finna go through it with them, they finna hear some words and they gonna be called everything but a child of God. And, we're going to pray about that, because no, we're not doing that. But seriously, you have to be able to admit how you're feeling. And when it's time to make that decision, don't be hasty. Just say, okay, God, listen, these people, they try me on this job. They try me in my family. They try me at this grocery store. These bill collectors keep calling me, and I told them don't call me no more. These scammers, they call them more than the bill collectors, and I'm finna tell them where they can go. So you have to be able to just say, okay, let me step back. Because one, I also have to look at the convenience of things, because nothing happened coincidentally. Everything has a purpose, a place, and a time. So if something is crumbling in front of you all at once, you have to know that there's a blessing behind that thing. It's not just happening so you can be pissed off. You have to know that when something happens, it's happening for a reason. And when it all comes coming down, when you think you've just overcome the last 10 things that happened yesterday and you got 20 more today, you know that your breakthrough is about to come. So you cannot give up. You cannot throw the towel in. And I'll tell you a story. I moved to Atlanta last year, and I saved my money and I moved. It didn't take me long to get a job there. I probably got a job like at the end of the month when I moved there last year. But when I got the job, it was crazy to me. I was like, what's going on? So I applied for this position. Mind you, I had never did this position before, and it was at Macy's in Lenox Square. And I was working as a bridal. Sorry, my words are all twisted up today, you guys. But I am feeling better. Can you hear it? I'm clear. Woo, woo. Come through, boo. Come through. I'm here. Y'all know I'm goofy. So back to the story. So it was at Macy's in Lenox Square. I was working as a bridal consultant. The best job I ever had. I love interacting with people. I love to talk. I love helping people decorate. Also, I love decorations and table settings and fabrics and plates and dinettes. I just love it. So anyway, I go to the interview. And the lady asked me, all these questions about a bridal consultant, what would you say to a person that's trying to create a registry and da-da-da. So, I'm giving her all the answers based off of, because one, I'm not married. I haven't been married. I'm not engaged. I've never been engaged. I've never created a registry, and I've never had experience with actually building one. So I'm basically going off of my knowledge and the things that I, looked up before I went on the interview. So I'm telling her all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, but that's just so vague. And so, I'm not getting discouraged. I'm just still talking and letting her know. And I'm like, okay, well, just going through the flow. And she was like, okay. So then we talk about some other stuff. Anyways, furthermore, the interview ends. And it's been like 2 weeks. So I had already told myself, Jasmine, I just want to give you the dumbest award of the year. You went in there and you embarrassed yourself in that interview. You didn't know what the heck you were talking about. Then you was probably looking crazy because my facial expressions, y'all, that's something I'm praying about too. I may not say it out loud, but if you look at me at a certain place, at a certain time, my facial expression is saying all the words that I want to say to you out loud. And I'm praying about that. Y'all pray for me because God is still working on me. So yeah, I was just beating myself up, and I literally threw the towel, and I'm like, God, I don't know what to do. And mind you, this was like I moved in October, so this was like mid-October. I still had my savings, but it went back to that control moment. I wanted to control the situation. I'm like, I need this job, I need it now. Yeah, I got enough savings to last me to next year, but I need it because at the end of the day, I just want to be able to live off my check and not my savings, to have money. And you know how we get so far ahead, and we want to plan. And I'm an over planner. I'm an overthinker. I do all of that. So I'm stressing myself out. And it's just like, oh my God. So after the interview, I broke down so bad because I felt like crap. I was like, girl, how could you go in here and bomb this interview? And when I say bomb, I don't mean do a good job. I mean, how could you go in there and literally blow it up? Like, you really failed. Like, how could you do this to yourself? And I called one of my good friends, my older friends, and I was telling her, and actually, no, she called me and we were just talking, and she was like, oh, you had an interview today? And I was like, yeah. I tried to get my little spaz back on, put my jazz voice on, and faked it till I make it, but it wasn't working. Because as soon as she asked me about it, I literally bust out in tears. She's like, oh my God, Jasmina, what's wrong, Mom? She started speaking in Spanish. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what this girl's saying. But I went to tell her about it, and she was like, listen. She was like, wait a minute. Calm down. She's like, God would not get you this far just to get you this far. She was like, you know better than this. She was like, this is nobody but the devil playing with your mind, and you think that you did a horrible job. She was like, if you don't get this job, it's because God has something better for you. It's not because of what you did in there. She said, because if that was the case, then she was like, at the end of the day, if you get this job, this is where you're supposed to be. She said, if you don't get it, just know that that's a blessing from God, that you have something else coming, something that may pay you more, something that may benefit your schedule or your needs better. She said, baby girl, don't worry about how other people perceive you. Don't let this beat you up. Don't get down because of something that just happened and you think that you did a bad job because you're in desperation of needing or of thinking you need this job. She said, because God will provide your every need. She was like, he wouldn't have made a way for you to get there, because y'all, literally, I saved the money. I had about $5,000 saved up, and I did it in 2 months. But mind you, I did it working 2 full-time jobs, paying off a $3,500 debt, and literally working off of no sleep. And I buckled down and got it together. And I don't really recommend people doing it the way I did, because I was tired, and I try to do that now, but I just cannot work those 2 jobs and full-time thingy. I can't. So y'all can work, but don't work like that. But I did all these things, and God provided literally in 2 months. And I was at work, and we never got overtime. And at that time I was working at Citibank before I left for Atlanta. And I was telling my friend, I'm like, girl, I really hope they give us some overtime, because I really need it right now. I'm trying to move. I got 2 months and And the next day I came in, and they was like, oh, we have available overtime. You can work as many hours as you want. Let me tell y'all, I was there every day. I was there working OT every single night, because I worked overnight. I was working overnight. So, my friend reminded me, she was like, Jasmine, God provided a way for you to get there. Why would you think he would just get you there to bring you back and bring you back on bad terms? She was like, Jasmine, calm down. And so I had to literally, when I got home, I cried again. I am not gonna lie, y'all. And I am a tough person, but when it comes to myself, I beat myself up more than anybody. So I'm a big crybaby when it comes to me. I broke down crying. And I broke down crying because I was like, God, you've tested me so many times in this area, because things happen. It doesn't look like it's going to work out. And it doesn't look like I'm going to get this job or get this car, or get this promotion, or whatever it is. It doesn't look like whatever I'm trying to get is going to be got. So I break down before it's even denied. And I really may not even had a reason to be denied, but I felt it. So I broke down, and I literally had to go home and just pray about it. And I told God, I said, God, I'm sorry because you brought me through so much. You've made a way out of nowhere. I literally went from having maybe $100 and something to having $5,000 in 2 months because I worked so hard. And it wasn't because of me. It was because God provided me with that second job at the right time. Okay, it started immediately. I started working, and it worked perfectly with my night job. It was great, y'all. It was great. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I was tired, but I wasn't like really like beat up tired like the way I am now. So I just know. But yeah, so I realized that at that moment I was throwing the towel in, but God was telling me, like, no, you need to keep going. Like, no matter how you felt like that interview went, you claim that job. And if you don't get that job, that means I got something else for you. And y'all, I kid you not, it was like 2.5 weeks, the longest wait I ever had. And I'm at home. I had just got back home because I was touring Atlanta, driving around, having me a good time by myself. And my phone rung, and I was like, oh, okay, who is this? It was an Atlanta number. I'm like, well, it got to be a job because I don't know anybody in Atlanta. So I pick up the phone. And I'm like, hello, can I talk to Jasmine? I'm like, this is she. And it was the manager from Macy's. And I was just like, oh, he calling to tell me that I didn't get the job. Like, dang, they do that. Atlanta surely is different, child, because they don't do that in Jacksonville. If you don't get the job, you don't get the job. They ain't calling you. Because I'm like, I know good and well, it's been almost 3 weeks. This man is not finna call me in to say you got no job. Like, Jasmine, you need to stop playing with yourself. And that's another thing. I was back to that mindset. See what I'm talking about with my faith? And it's crazy because I still struggle with my faith too. So y'all, I'm telling y'all, don't think I'm perfect on this other line because I'm not. I'm going through the exact same things that you are going through when it comes to faith in life in general. So anyways, I was on the phone and he called me. He was like, yo, I heard so much about your interview. He was like, she didn't really tell me much, but I would just like to, go have another phone interview with you and then we can move on. So we did the interview. He asked me questions. He was like, oh, great. You have a lot of experience and you sound like you're very knowledgeable and I would love to bring you in for, to do your training. He was like, I really think you'll be a great fit. We have a lot of women on the team and I think they would just love you. And I was like, oh my God. I was so excited. Literally, y'all, I started busting out crying on the phone while that man was on the phone and I had to keep the phone on mute and just say, okay, thank you. I'll be there. I had to pull it together, but when I got off the phone, I prayed and cried so hard. I was like, God, you did it again. Like, and it wasn't that I was expecting anything because I had already disqualified myself. And sometimes, people unqualify us, but we also unqualify ourselves too. And that's another podcast episode. So we're not going to get into that. But I was, ecstatic because I'm like, God, it's been 3 weeks. I did this interview a long time ago and I just knew that you had written me out. You had called me out and I was done. So that's what I'm saying. It's at the very moment that we're about to give up that God shows out. And I know this podcast episode is a little long, but I have one more story because y'all probably like, oh girl, that was just a coincidence. So fast forward to Macy's. I'm working there, loving the job, loving it, but it wasn't paying enough because I was only working part-time. Mind you, I still had my savings, but my rent was $1,200. My rent was $1,200. I still had a car note. I had car insurance. I had food, lights, water. And JEA is nothing like Georgia Power. Let me tell y'all that now. Georgia Power, I love them because they give you a discount for even having a job. So literally, I've never paid over like $50 for my I don't know why I keep saying JEA. I'm in Jacksonville, but Georgia Power. Come on, Jasmine, get it together. Georgia Power. I never paid over $50 for my Georgia Power bill when I stayed in Georgia because they always gave me some kind of discount and I was so thankful for that. I'm like, customer job month discount. Thank you, God. Like, just thanking God for everything because I know I didn't do it. And JA don't have no job discounts and, weather, due to the weather this month, we giving you a $25 credit. They don't have that here. So I was like, ooh, Georgia Power, come through. I'm appreciating you. So yeah, I was down. It had been like 6 or 7 months. I was working there and I loved it and I didn't want to leave it. So I wanted to find me another full-time job. So I actually found a full-time job and I started working it, but it was complicating with my other schedule, and it wasn't paying me more than Macy's. So I ended up leaving that job, and I ended up just working Macy's and continuing to, maybe for like another 2 or 3 months, I end up applying, and I went on a lot of interviews. Or no, I did a lot of like phone interviews at that time. And I put in for this position because there was this car dealership, because I have experience at car dealerships in the accounting office. So I put in at this car dealership that was like literally 5 minutes up the road from my house. And I saw they was hiring. The lady called me in like the next day, and she's like, "Oh, I saw your resume online, and I really want to bring you in." So I went in, and I told her my background, and I told her about the systems that I knew, and da-da-da. And I thought, now, y'all, at this moment, I thought I had locked the job in the bag. I was confident. I was like, "God, I got this. This is my job." She cool. She in here talking like I already got the job. I got the job. You know, I'm just gassing myself up because I remembered. I'm like, "Girl, you know, you counted yourself out at Macy's, but you ain't counting yourself out now." And let me tell y'all, I should have counted myself out. I should have just said, "Ooh, girl, just be humble, be humble. You know, thank God in advance for whatever he's doing, but just be calm, be humble." And I got home, and the lady never called me back. She was supposed to call me back. She never called me back. It maybe went on maybe the end of the week. It wasn't as long as the time with Macy's, but it was like a short period of time. But, you know, when you get that job and she tell you she gonna call you on a Tuesday and it's Friday, and it's like, ain't nobody calling you back for no job on a Friday. So that Friday, another dealership in that same company called. And she was like, "Yeah, I got your..." When she said the company, I was like, "Well, what position was this for?" She went to saying the position. I was like, "Well, I didn't apply for this position." And she was like, "Yeah, I know you applied for another position, and the lady, she really liked you. She really thinks that you would excel at this position. It's a higher paying position, and I would love to have you come in today if you can for an interview." And I was like, "Okay, great. I'll definitely come in. No problem. I thank you so much for considering me, because I didn't even know this job existed. I will be there at such and such time." And it was farther. I was like 35. It was in Duluth, Georgia. So it was like 30 minutes from my house. So I left an hour early, because anybody that know Atlanta, you have to leave your house early because you might not get there on time. So I left early. I rode around the city and looked at stuff, and then I went to the interview. And, you know, the interview went great, but I counted myself out, y'all, because I had just been overly unhumbled when I need to humble myself, thinking I had got that position, and I didn't. So when I went in there, I was really calm, and I just answered the questions. I stayed confident, though. I didn't want to count myself out or count myself in. I was like in between the two, and I'm like, "Okay, let's just, come on, God." The whole time I'm in my mind, like, "Lord, just come on. I know you got me. I know you got me. I know you won't leave me out here. You won't leave me ashore." I was literally talking to God, because I'm like, I don't know how to feel right now. I'm just here. You sent this to me, and I'm here. So after that, she told me, she's like, "Yes, you know, I would love for you to start. You know, we're just looking for people that's just going to be dedicated to working," and da-da-da-da. And I was agreeing, and she sent me over to do my drug test. She gave me a start date, my pay rate, and I was like, "Oh my God, like, God, you are good." Yes, it's not 5 minutes from my house like I wish it was, but it's at the same location with this company, and it's a better paying job, and the schedule was better as well. So I was so happy. And that's another thing, because I was, that same day right before she called, I was on the phone with one of my friends, and I was telling her, I was like, "I'm just getting frustrated. I've been putting in all these job applications, and nobody's calling me back. I had that interview, and she lied to me. She said she was gonna call me on Tuesday. It's Friday. Ain't nobody calling me." You know, that I'm just going on. And as soon as I got done ranting, my phone rung, and I told my friend, I said, "Girl, hold on, I don't know who this is calling." You know how that number call you, and I'm like, I know it's somebody from Georgia, but again, I didn't know anybody in Georgia, so I'm like, this gotta be a job. But automatically, I had written myself up. I'm like, this probably a bill collector. You know, they're in Georgia too. So I answered the phone, and it was her, and I was like, "God." And when I got home from that interview, I cried again, because I was like, "God, you just brought me through." Sorry, I'm beating on the thing on the table, but I'm like, "You just got me through this. You just showed me, like, don't count yourself out. Don't throw the towel in when you think it's done, because this is your beginning. I'm only preparing you for what you need. I'm preparing you. You're asking me to boost your faith up. I'm giving you those tests. You're asking me to send you these things to have more trust in me. I'm helping you trust me, and you're failing." And that was another thing that I was talking about earlier. I've taken the same test over and over, and until this day, I'm still taking that test because the current job I have now, I had a similar situation, and I boo-hoo cried because I'm like, God, these people keep unqualifying me and da-da-da-da. But when I realized that they weren't unqualifying me, I unqualified myself because I didn't feel worthy enough of what God had for me. And that's just going back into this episode, what to do when you're done, because it was at that very moment I had given up. I was talking trash, slinging my neck and having an attitude, and God showed up and told me, like, I'm gonna show you. You think you done. You think you done. So that brings me back to my last point. Your end just might be your beginning. You might be one step away from stepping in God's abundance. You can't just think about the now. You have to remember that God can change your life in a matter of seconds. So what you're going through right now will literally change once your mindset changes, whether it's negative or positive. But you have to be the director. God is you can't be the director. Sorry, God's the director, but you have to be the actor. So you have to be able to be directed by the leader. So when God is telling you, okay, you're asking me to boost your faith, boom, I'm sending you this obstacle. Let me see how you're going to handle it. You're asking me to increase your trust in me. So let me give you this situation. I'm telling you I'm going to do this for you, but I want you to see how you're failing these things. What's your flaws? And you have to be able to realize that, okay, I know what I'm praying for. And that's another thing. You have to be reminded what you're praying for. If you're asking God to boost your faith and boost your confidence and send you some financial increase, when things start financially happening that's decreasing your finances, you have to know that you're being tested. It's a test, baby, because God is trying to see how far you're going to go. And you can't give yourself a day or two like, oh, I prayed for this last week, so I'm going to just pray that next week God will answer my prayer. And then when next week comes, you're like, well, God, I prayed and I did what you asked me to do, and I'm not seeing the change and da-da-da. And God's saying, just trust me, just walk with me, use your faith. I didn't tell you when I was going to bless you. I didn't tell you how long this obstacle or this test is going to last, but I told you you will be tempted. You will be tempted. And when you're tempted, that you need to walk by faith and know that just like David was able to slay Goliath, I will give you each and every essential that you need to move those mountains in your life. So you have to be ready to work. You have to be ready to be patient. Keep your faith. Pray and keep praying. You know what I'm saying? You have to do these things because I'm telling you, the minute you throw that towel in, your situation is going to turn. It's going to turn for the good or the bad. And, God is good because he'll bless us regardless. He'll bless us whether we need it or not. Or whether we wanted it or achieved it, or if we pass the test, God will bless us. But don't think that's the end, because God's going to come back and give you that same test. Like, remember that time 5 years ago when I tested you because you prayed about your faith, and now you're here again asking me about faith. So let's get this test ready. You have to be watchful. That's the last point. Be watchful. Pay attention to what's going on. Line your prayers or what you're asking God to do in your life with how your life is looking. So when things are going wrong and you really had a great week last week, but Sunday you went to church, you went to the altar, you got prayed over, you went home, you was praying all the way home to the car, you've been in your book, you've been reading and listening to sermons, and God has just been answering you, and it's just been great. And now Monday come, your job on your back. Your kids, if you got kids, are on your back. Your family, everybody got family. That one auntie, that one cousin that wants you to do something. You like, girl, I better can get to what I'm going through. Your grandma, because my granny, Lord, I love my granny, but sometimes she drive me crazy. I love her to death, though. But, you have to be able to say, okay, let me step back. Let me take this all in, because I don't know what God is doing, but I know he's doing something. And instead of asking why God's doing it, we need to be able to say, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing something. And I know what I'm praying for. I'm praying for grace. I'm praying for mercy. I'm praying for trust in you. I'm praying for deeper faith. So you have to be reminded. Remind yourself what you asked God for, because only you and God know what you're praying for, unless you told somebody. 9 times out of 10, they don't remember what you told the Lord. They do not remember, okay? My memory is bad, unless it's with a conversation. I remember everything everybody tell me. But some people like, girl, I know you had said you was talking to God, but I don't remember what you said. So you know what you're praying for. So no matter what, when you are faced with obstacles, do not throw your towel away. Like Bianca Olthoff said, when life sucks, don't quit, but you need to work. You need to work and be able to keep working. Keep moving. Don't stop. Don't let people deteriorate and distract you from what you're doing, because that's all those things are. They're distractions. There's so many distractions that goes on in this world that we don't even realize, because when we're called to do whatever, when we're trying to start that business, or trying to start a different relationship, or trying to get better friends, or trying to have that deeper relationship with our family, or trying to take on this new job, whatever it is that you're doing, the smallest things will distract you from where you're trying to go. So you have to be able to be reminded, not only through other people, but through yourself. You are your best advocate. You have to be able to be willing to stand up for what it is that you're believing in. So again, those 5 points, 6 points. The first one was work. The second one was be patient. The third one was keep your faith. The fourth one was pray. Keep praying. The fifth one was be watchful. And I just want to leave you with that. I hope that you take notes and that you look at this and that you remember not to throw the towel in, because God is about to bless you. There is a blessing through the testing season that you're in. So please, I encourage you to not give up, because your breakthrough is around the corner. And I'm not just preaching to you. I'm preaching to me. I literally am. I promise you guys, I am preaching to the choir, to the church, to the kids, to everybody. I'm telling everybody. So, yes, thank you so much, Gems, for tuning in again. Let me know how y'all felt about this episode. And I will see you on the next one. Y'all keep shining as the gems you are, okay? Bye.